Hello, everyone. Welcome to Small Biz Tips. I think a few weeks ago, I attended this amazing event called Jets and Capital in Dallas, and I met this amazing woman, Andrea. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going, Bear?
I am fantastic. Thank you for jumping on this pod with me today. Before we share your greatness, who is Andrea?
I'm many things to many people. I
Sound like a
am an
movie.
incredible sourdough baker to all of my friends.
Nice.
The hostess with the mostest.
Okay.
I am a pretty fun dog mom. I'm a decent skier, and I happen to run a recruiting firm.
Nice, nice, nice. So before we get into that, you said you bake and you ski. Where do you normally go skiing?
Oh, I am a nut job for skiing. I think we live in Las Vegas, and
Yeah.
there's tons of mountains within driving
Mhm.
distance. So Utah, like the Salt Lake City mountains, are incredible. It's six
Nice.
and a half hours door to door to Park City. Colorado, my business partner Joanna, who I'm sure we'll talk about today too. She lives in Crested Butte, so I
Okay.
spent two weeks at Crested, and everything in Crested Butte. It's a tiny, tiny town. Everything is 5 minutes from the mountain, so she lives 5 minutes from the mountain, which is great. So I'll ski wherever I can. We'll put it that
I
way. But
love it.
generally West Coast, and I'm kind of bougie about making sure that it's like really good powder when I'm skiing.
Okay, okay. Well, you know what's crazy? I've never been skiing, so it's on my bucket list. I got to do it sometime. So
I would tell you that we could go together, but I'm gonna need you to take some lessons first because I can't be waiting around for all the slow kids on the mountain.
you're gonna have to give me like a good teacher, someone that can get me up and running quickly.
I actually do this trip every year. It started
Uh-huh.
about 10 years ago. I didn't start skiing until I was in my late 20s. And
Okay.
a couple years into that, I started doing this annual ski trip over Super Bowl weekend, and it started with six of us, and it's grown every year. We do a different mountain, so somewhere else, and it's some years we have like 20 people, and some years we have 10. It just
I
depends.
want
But
to.
we've been to the most incredible mountains, and Super Bowl is an awesome weekend to go skiing. Typically great weather, but also
Yeah.
that Sunday of Super Bowl, the mountain tends to be a little bit emptier. So if it's really good weather,
Mm.
it's awesome. And if it's not good weather, then around lunchtime, we all go have drinks. We start après ski very, very early. So
I love it. I love it. So let's dive onto the recruiting business. How'd you get into that?
I got into it. I was in software sales for
Okay.
many years, and I've been in sales as long as I can remember. I mean, my first real job was selling knives door to door. I'm sure
Cutco? Was it
members of
Cutco?
your yeah, I'm sure members of your audience are familiar with Cutco. So I did that
Yes.
for a little while. I found myself at 19 years old running, like, did rented office space, hired a secretary or a receptionist, and was back in those days we called them secretaries. Now they're receptionists or office managers. But yeah, and I was 19 years old, running an office, hiring a
That's
team,
awesome.
doing the whole thing. And then I moved into software sales. And from
Mhm.
software sales, I really love software sales, but I found that was frustrating because you can't control the product, right?
Yeah.
Like, you would sell the software and you'd think it would fit their needs, and you go through this whole discovery process, make sure you understand it, but at the end of the day, if it's not great software or if it doesn't fit their needs, you still have to sell.
Mm.
And that was the hard part. So when I found recruiting, I was
Yeah.
really excited because it's harder, right? Because you have two sales to make, right? You're selling
Yeah.
candidates and you're selling clients, but
Yeah.
it's really you can control the product. So if it's a company that I'm working with, I want to make sure I really believe in the company and that they've got a great culture and it's going to be a good career move for this person. And on the candidate side, my job is to bring our clients yellow flags and help them
Yeah.
understand if somebody is or isn't a good team for them, so, or a good fit for their team. And I love that aspect of it. I
Mhm.
tend to love to make things more difficult, pick the most difficult route. And so recruiting tends to be more difficult because you have to understand both sides, but it's really super rewarding.
I love the fact that you said, you leveraged those experience you had and then got into something that you can control the product,
Mhm.
right? I think a lot of us sometimes get into entrepreneurship, we don't think about that.
Mhm.
So I'm curious because when it comes to recruiting, it's so vast in terms of, the culture, the mindset. Like, what kind of recruiting do you focus on? Is it C-level? Like, tell us a bit more about that. And then when it comes to identifying the culture that you're pairing your candidate to, how do you go about that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there are a lot of agencies out there that they really niche and they say, well, we
Hmm.
only do product management, or we only do technology, or we only work in healthcare. And
Yeah.
in my career, I've worked across so many different industries and so many different
Hmm.
functions. What I really found was it was really interesting because you'd think that going from one industry to another or one function to another, that you would see a lot of different types of problems, but at the end of the day, the problems were the same.
Huh.
And it made me realize that, a lot of people think, and I think a lot of companies think that when you hire a recruiting firm, you're hiring them for their network, right? Because you need to find the right candidates. But
Yeah.
finding the candidate is 10% of what we do, right? Like that's in my
Hmm.
mind, that's the easy part. So we're working across all these industries, and I realized that like the problems are the same. So people don't like hiring. It's very, very time consuming.
Yeah.
Everybody wants a great team, but they don't want to go through the work to get them. They were interviewing, hiring managers and CEOs and CTOs and CPOs. They're interviewing people who aren't a fit for the job, so it's frustrating. And they would get
Hmm.
people to the offer stage, and then they wouldn't accept the offer. And so all those problems, they boil down to the same thing in my mind, which is not really taking the time to understand who they need to hire in the first place.
Mm.
So we actually don't focus on a specific industry. We work across multiple industries and we're role
Okay.
agnostic. And all that really means is that we can hire positions all across a company.
Yeah.
But the thing that we do really differently, and I think it gives us the ability to work across all these industries and all these functions, is that I took that software sales mindset of discovery and learning about a client or a company that you're looking to
Yeah.
sell. I took that mindset and said, why aren't we doing that with our clients? Right.
Huh.
So instead of just saying, hey, I'm a recruiter, tell me what you need. Yeah. Oh, you need a software engineer who does this,
I
and
got
this, or you
one.
need a
Yeah.
marketing person who does this, and this. Great, I'll go find them. I'll send you 50 resumes. It's like that's causing the problems that we just talked
Yeah.
about. So we do a discovery process and we understand the company and their business goals and the gaps that they have, where they're looking to go, where did they come from, where's their origin story.
Wow.
And we do this discovery process and we talk about, okay, you want to hire for this role, tell me why. Go into the details of why and what problems are this person need to solve. And so many times we come out of discovery or the calibration process we've developed, and the role that we actually need to hire for is different than what they originally thought. And they would have gotten to that probably at some point, but it would have been one bad hire, or
Yeah.
it would have been 6 months of interviewing to realize they were hiring for the wrong position.
Hmm.
So when the way I look at it is that all we really do is we help to give our clients clarity. And then we have a team of recruiters internally who has different levels of subject matter expertise. So one person might be really great at product and
Yeah.
technology, one person might be great at accounting and finance. But what we did, I launched my firm about a year ago, and what we did is I said, listen, if we can take this really strong methodology of how to make our clients' lives easier, how to elevate the experience for them, how to
Hmm.
make them go from like this harried, frustrated version of like, God, I hate hiring, to like, oh wow, this is awesome. This
Yeah.
this firm I'm working with, instead of sending me 30 resumes, they sent me the 3 people I actually wanted to talk to.
Yes.
So we develop a methodology, and then I bring on recruiters who have subject matter expertise. They deliver that methodology. And now my clients, it's like they can work with one agency. We can do almost,
Throughout their
pretty much
organization.
all roles for them. And like it's a boutique experience.
I love it.
The tagline for our company is um, elevating the recruiting industry. And
Mm.
what that really means for us is it's creating really awesome experiences for our clients, for candidates, for
Yeah.
everybody we talk to, for our team internally. I just kind of wanted to do something better.
I love it. I love it. So you mentioned you started the firm a year ago. What has been the biggest lessons you've learned since you started this company?
That's a really good question. And I'm so excited to answer it. Actually, thank you. I thought about it before now, but it's a lesson I just recently learned. And when I first built this business, there were a bunch of people who told me you can't build a business on referrals. And
Mm.
for some reason, I believe them.
Mm.
Even though my entire recruiting career I had built my entire book of business all based on referral. I was like, listen, if I do a really, really great job, people are going to talk about it. They're going to send
Yeah.
me to other people. And that's every single one of our clients at 180 has either been referred to us or they've referred us to someone else. So
Mm-hmm.
100%. And unfortunately, I listened to some people that said, you can't do that. Instead of listening to me and listen, not that I know everything, but I
Yeah.
think your gut is talking to you, you should listen. So
Mm-hmm.
that's I think the hardest thing, the biggest lesson that I learned was you can lean into your superpowers and lean into who you are, lean into your gut authority, and really grow your business the way that you know that you can. So
Yeah.
recently I've said, listen, I'm not going to do what everybody else is telling me to do. I'm going to do the thing that I love doing. I love going to events like the one that we met at and
Yeah.
having authentic conversations with people, just being yourself.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
there's somebody I want to work with. How do we do business together? Right.
Exactly.
And so since then, since I kind of about a month or so ago realized that I should be listening to myself instead of all these kind of talking heads around
Gurus.
me, things have really changed. And like we've been getting referrals right and left, and I've been making really awesome connections with people.
I love it. This is amazing. When it comes to your referral process, what does that look like?
So it's interesting. We oftentimes, when I say referrals, people think they should send us candidates. And I'm like, well, we love candidates and we have a lot of free resources for them. And we're actually launching like a self-paced digital course that
Mm-hmm.
candidates can go through when they're in a career search. The referrals that we like to get are the companies who are looking to hire. I'm actually building, I'm really excited about it, a partner network.
Okay.
One of the things in recruiting is that like it's a very competitive industry, and
Yeah.
I think there's a lot wrong with the industry in general. And what I mean by that is, um, I think competition is great if it's a healthy competition, but
Yeah.
there is a resistance to collaboration, and I've eschewed
Mm,
that, and I'm or eschewed that. I don't know how to say that word out loud. But what I'm doing is saying, listen, instead of doing that, why don't we partner? Like if we can't do
yeah.
something really, really well, then I want to partner with a company who does. And if
Yeah.
that's another recruiting firm, great. If it's a PE firm that I say,
Yeah.
listen, if you're looking for capital, this is a good place to go, great. If it's a candidate that I worked with that now has a data insights business and he consults for that,
Mhm.
awesome. I've got a friend who runs a company that does operational efficiency, and we like to refer her. So I'm building a partner network that essentially of businesses that we really believe in and that we know the quality of their service is on par with ours, so that
Yeah.
we can have like refer business back and forth. And then oftentimes with clients, once they work with us, if you're a CMO or a CEO, you probably know other people. And the
Of
next
course.
time they hear somebody say, God, we're working with a firm we don't like, or we need to hire for these roles and they're really important and we can't figure it out, then easily they say, oh, we had a great experience. We'd love to introduce you to this person.
That's awesome. I'm curious, right? Because you mentioned the partner network, you mentioned everything else you got going on. What's your vision for this business in the next 2 to 3 years?
In the next 2 to 3, so I mentioned we launched about a year ago, so we're small
Yeah.
today. And now we're ready to start scaling. So we said, listen, I want to build really, really awesome processes so that we can deliver that experience that we talk about every single
Mhm.
time. You go to Starbucks in Kansas and you go to Starbucks in
Yeah.
California,
Same
you're
thing.
having the same experience, right? Whether or not
Yeah.
you like that coffee, that's the experience you're
Mhm.
getting. So I wanted to make sure we had the processes in place, and now we're going to start scaling. So I'm looking now to bring in recruiters who have subject matter expertise, who have a book of
Mhm.
business, that want to be better and want to be in an
Mm.
environment where people are going to challenge them and make them better.
I love it. I love it. So we got a lot of small business owners who listen to our show. I'm curious, what is that one small biz tips that you would share with them, that you've learned in your journey, maybe working with some of the clients you've been working with, or in your own
Yeah.
journey that you think can benefit them?
I'm probably going to give you two or three because I love to
Oh, I
overachieve.
love
So,
it. Yes. Let's go.
I'd say listen, for small business, we work a lot. I built my career working with startup companies. And so
Mm,
now we have companies, everything from, early stage, Series A, or even seed funding, all the way through to like billion-dollar public companies. But with small businesses specifically, one
yeah.
thing we see over and over again is that CEOs and even executives at small companies, they really struggle with finding the right mix of strategic and hands-on. So
Mm,
it's, a lot of times they say, we want to bring somebody in from this big name company. Like, they've come from, let's say it's a fintech company, and they're like, oh God, like we want somebody from, one of these really big names. And the issue is that the people that they want to bring on, because of their experience, oftentimes they're so strategic
yeah.
that we like yellow pad architects, right? Like they're pie in the sky. They are used to having a lot of resources. they're great at strategy, but executing on a day-to-day basis is something that you have to
Not the
do
thing.
in any
Yeah.
small business, right? You have to be the janitor to the CEO, right? What's the
Mhm.
saying? So that's something that we really help them understand. In the discovery process, we typically will uncover that. A lot of times companies that are referred to us or that we bring on, any clients, oftentimes they'll have had a bad hire in the past, and
Gotcha.
they'll come to us and they've got scar tissue, and they'll say, listen, like, this person was referred to us, we hired them, it was a bad fit, it wasn't a culture fit, or they weren't hands-on enough, and we really struggled, and we knew that they had all this experience, but blah blah blah. So we help them to understand that sometimes you think you might need a COO, but this actually just happened to us recently, and we were referred to this company and they wanted to hire a COO. We went through the discovery process. And at the end of discovery, I said, you don't need a COO, you need a VP of operations, and you need somebody who's really hands-on. And it's counterintuitive, right? Because as a
Yeah.
recruiting, you'd think we'd be talking them up into a higher position so we could charge more. But my whole job is to make someone's life better, to make it
Yeah.
easier. And if we bring the right person in who can make the impact that they need them to make, then we'll have future hires with them. That's great.
Yeah.
But really thinking critically about where your company is today, where you're going, and what person can take you from A to B,
Mhm.
instead of bringing in the person that's already at G, right, and is going to go
Mm.
to Z.
I'm glad you said that. And you mentioned something. You don't need a COO, you need a VP of operation. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that, right? Is it certain revenue level? Because now you have people that just a one-man show calling themselves CEO, and then they got somebody else and they just call them, oh, that's my CFO, right? So these C-level lingos has been thrown around a lot. Can
Yeah.
you talk a little bit more about, when should somebody see themselves as like the VP of operation or the COO?
I'm going to say unpopular opinion, but titles don't matter. Um, the thing is, in a really big company, right? We take Amazon, right? And they have very specific leveling, and that leveling is associated to tier bands for salary.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, that matters. But across a company, I mean, across an entire industry, let's just look at the financial services industry.
Yeah.
At a bank, a VP is basically an entry level title, right?
Yeah.
And the titles go, it's like the director is like above a VP, and then like a general, it's wild. So unless you're within an industry that it actually matters and that your titling is going to go, you're going from one bank to another, titles don't really matter that much. And
Mm.
when I find candidates that are title obsessed, they're never going to be a fit for a small company, period, end of story.
Mm.
Like, they need to be, now that candidate, by the way, it's a fit for other companies. But if we're
Yeah.
talking about a 20-person or even 50-person company and they're worried about what title they're going to get, like, that's not the person that you want on your team. So title yourself whatever you want. And I was talking to someone yesterday, he was interviewing with a company, and he said, listen, like, they're very open on title. They said they can call him the czar of, marketing. Nobody cares. And that's the attitude you should have. The question
Yeah.
is, what's the impact of the work?
Yeah.
Where can that person take you? What happens if you hire the wrong person? What are and what
Mhm.
are the gaps we need to fill today? All of those things, that's what matters. So
I love it.
titles are just, it's not that important.
So how do people get in touch with you, Andrea, if they want to reach out or if they need your help? How do they do that?
Yeah. So our website is 180co.com. So it's all spelled out, ONEEIGHTYCO. By the way, when naming a company, really ask yourself, how difficult is it going to be to spell your email address? Because that was something that we had many, many conversations about before we picked the name.
That's a
Uh,
good question, right?
yeah. But we definitely didn't choose a name until we like checked Instagram, LinkedIn, websites,
Mhm.
made sure. But anyway, I am Andrea at 180co.com, but also on LinkedIn, Andrea Rishmawi. And I'm sure my name will be, I won't spell it out for you, but it'll be written in the show notes, I'm sure.
Definitely. Thank you
Yeah.
for jumping on, Andrea. This was
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh
Guys,
no, I
check.
have more tips. You can't be cutting me off, Gilbert. I
Oh,
told
I
you I
thought you
had two or
were
three.
done. Tell me some
You can't just let
more.
me have one.
All right,
We
tell
got
me
two
the other
more.
three.
Okay. What I've learned, and I'm telling any small business owner who's thinking about starting their own business, or maybe they've started it and they're trying to figure things out, the person that you choose to do this with is really important. And a
Mm.
lot of people want to do it on their own. Great. There's an old saying, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with other people.
Mhm.
I'd like to go far. And my co-founder, she's my best friend. She
Mm.
is We joked that she's my soulmate as well, but don't let my partner hear that. She has a complementary skill set. We bonded because we were both really, really dedicated to personal growth and development.
Mm,
So we know how to push each other. We know how to challenge each other. We know how to support each other. And
mm,
like at the end of the day, we have really, really aligned goals. And so what I'll say is if you don't have a co-founder and you're struggling and you feel like you're not sure, start talking to people, because having someone who can push back on you is really,
yeah.
really important. And also someone that has a complementary skill set. I like to think that I can do it all, but I certainly can't. Like I am terrible at marketing, really bad. I don't like it. It bores me. And Joanna loves it and she's great at it.
That's all.
So that part I think is really important. And the reason I talk about her so much, and the reason I like on a daily basis to work with her, is because we really agreed when we first started. We got really clear on our goals and we said, listen, we want to grow, we want to scale. But at the end of the day, if that doesn't happen, and it just ended up being a handful of us, and I got to work with her every single day, we
Mm,
would make a decision every single day to enjoy the journey together. And we have hard days, but there's nothing like having someone in your corner
yeah,
when you're going through the struggles of building a business.
I love it. Any last tip you want to share?
Mm, I'll let you get away with two, but I might have to come back and give you more.
Well, thank you.
Uh,
We're gonna have to have you back then.
yeah, yeah, that's great. So
Compliment.
listen, it's been awesome. I'm so glad that we met at that event, and I've had so many great conversations since then. So,
Nice.
if you've got people who want to get a hold of me, we're really excited. And one thing I didn't mention is that we also work with PE firms. And what we
Oh,
do there is we look at all their portfolio companies and say, listen, here's the stage of your companies. Here's what they're typically seeing, like
mm,
for struggles. And we'll come in and do a free training for all of their companies. And then any of those companies that want to work with us, they already have kind of a base of knowledge, and we've built some equity with them.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Guys, check out Andrea. She's amazing.
Thanks.